I think I've only done one other video on my channel concerning some comments that Michelle Rodriguez has made, very controversial comments that had a very anti-black sentiment. And after I get through this, you'll understand why this whole black and brown coalition thing never works. It only worked in theory, and it was a bad theory at that. So Michelle Rodriguez basically came out in a statement and she accused black actors of quote unquote stealing white people's superheroes. This coming from a woman who has done nothing but fast movies for the last good chunk of her career, with other little bit parts here in between. Like, when has Michelle Rodriguez ever been the lead in anything that she's done? I mean, I can't think of one. She's always been supporting for as long as I can remember, and she's always been typecast in these type of roles. And even when she's not playing in the fast movies, in other roles that she's playing, and she's always playing this hardcore masculine type of figure. Like, I rarely ever see her play a quote unquote feminine type role. If you look at her catalog, you'll see it. I'll be surprised if I come across one, and if I do come across one, then I don't know, maybe that was some small film with a very low budget. But I find it very interesting of the stuff that she says, since ethnically Michelle Rodriguez isn't quote unquote white, but she has the mindset of PC when she says certain things. And what have I told you? You do not have to be a white supremacist. So you do not have to be white to be a white supremacist. So I'm gonna go ahead and read this article that came from Hip Hop Vibe. And now here's the thing, the title says Michelle Rodriguez accuses black actors of stealing white people's superheroes, but the article starts off as Michelle Rodriguez accuses minorities of stealing white roles. So it's like the verbiage has switched. It went from black people stealing white superheroes to minorities of stealing white roles. And that's another reason why I tell black people we do not need to be in that category of minority, because we get lumped in with crap like what you see on your screen. Michelle Rodriguez is best known for her role in the Fast and Furious movies, which is one of the highest grossing franchises of all time. Over the past decade, there's been a diversity push in Hollywood. A major change has taken place with Halle Bailey starring as the Little Mermaid. This has been the most popular movie of the year. As I said in my review that it was one of the better Disney remakes, but to say that it's the most popular movie of the year, I would have to disagree with that. I would have to say the movie was shrouded in a lot of controversy for obvious reasons, but to say that it's the most popular movie of the year, that's a bit of a reach. Of all people, Michelle Rodriguez has a problem with this despite being a minority herself. She said minorities need to stop taking white superheroes and get their own. Michelle Rodriguez normally keeps a low profile except for whenever she has to say something about black people. However, with commentary like this, she is surely making a lot of waves. In fact, Rodriguez is trending on social media. While there are many people who are angry about her comments, others agree with them, and I'm not surprised by that. The push for diversity is not just a Hollywood thing. Many minorities, and see, I don't know who wrote this, but they said, this is their words, not mine. They said many minorities, primarily black people, are pushing for equality, given the sacrifices they have made for society. Well, like I said, I do not like black people being placed in that minority category, especially not in that POC or the people of color category as well. And for those who's pushing for all of that equality and stuff, I keep telling y'all that equality, in my opinion, is nothing more than a myth, and has been since the inception of said word. Remember, that word equality was around during Jim Crow, during segregation, and most likely during chattel slavery. Where was the equality then? It was nowhere to be found. Equality only exists amongst certain people, for certain people. It ain't with us. I'll tell you that right now. Michelle Rodriguez's commentary comes in the middle of a bit of a celebration. While Halle Bailey starring in The Little Mermaid isn't the end all be all, it is a major step in the right direction. Reimagining Princess Ariel as a black woman was big for little black girls all over the world. However, this and the superhero roles have upset Michelle Rodriguez. In addition to saying minorities have quote unquote stolen the roles, she said they should create their own superheroes. Michelle Rodriguez accuses I was about to read something else. But that's what she said. And it's hard to believe that this woman is 44, because I'm gonna be honest, that woman been cracked. But anyway, that's her hang up right there. And you know what's so funny? I remember when Black Panther first came out in 2018, you had a lot of people in the south of the Bordarian community, her community. I don't know if she said anything, but she probably agreed with it, who was saying, well, now that they have a Black Panther, where's the Latino representation? You know, where's the Latino or the Latina superhero? You mean to tell me you had all these PC superheroes from Marvel and DC leading up until this point, and then the one black superhero that we got with his own leading film and the type of character that he is, now you want to complain that there's no Latina or Latino representation? That's when I called out the BS then. And then I still remember that interview that the actress Yara Shahidi did, and she was sitting beside Gina, I think her name was Gina Rodriguez, and it was for a movie they both did together, and it was a black interviewer interviewing her about the movie, and he asked Yara Shahidi a specific question that was geared to her, like, how does it feel to be a representation for little black girls, or something along those lines. I can't remember the exact words he said. And then before Yara Shahidi could even answer the question, she interjected, and when I say she, I'm talking about Gina, and was talking about like all girls or something like that. It was some all lives matter response that she gave. And then the interviewer had to stop her and said, well, I specifically asked Yara Shahidi about black girls. And I was so glad when he checked her on that. And then Yara proceeded to answer the question. As a matter of fact, y'all can go and actually look that up. If I can find a link to that interview. And in that specific moment, I'll leave the link down pinned in the comments below, and y'all can watch it for yourself, because I bring that up often. I think a lot of people have not seen it. They probably heard of it, but they probably never seen it. But I will never forget that. And that's when I looked at Gina, and ever since then I looked at Gina Rodriguez with the side eye as well. But this is not the first time that Michelle Rodriguez has said something like this. Listen, Michelle, it is not other people's fault that your career has gotten pigeonholed into the point it was. I mean, she did that Dungeons and Dragons movie that came out earlier this year, and again, she's still playing the same type of role, this hardcore masculine role. That's not other people's fault. It really isn't. And of course, you're going to have a lot of people that's going to agree with her, the usual suspects, of course. But you know what? It is what it is. Now, you want to know the interesting thing? They're coming out with a movie in August called Blue Beetle, which is a DC movie. It's a DC comic book film, and it's the first time that they're going to have their south of the Bordarian representation all throughout the film. Mexican or Latino lead actor, and all the supporting cast are pretty much the same. It might be some others sprinkled in there, but it's majority them. So they got the answer to their question with that film. My thing is this, Michelle Rodriguez, instead of you making these comments about black people, quote unquote, stealing white superheroes, maybe you should get on the front line and help promote that movie. Or maybe you're upset because you didn't get cast in that movie. Maybe that's what it is. Or maybe it's because you've never had the opportunity to play a comic book hero. Is that what it is? I'm sensing a bit of animosity from her, a little bit of jealousy. Honestly, I think that's probably what it is. Isn't nobody out here trying to steal anything from you or them? And it's funny because, like I said, this woman is, you know what? Let me look up what her ethnicity is. I want to be specific with this. So I Googled her parents, or her ethnicity, and her parents came up. So it says early life. Maita, and I believe that's how it's pronounced, Michelle Rodriguez was born July 12, 1978 in San Antonio, Texas. Her mother, Carmen Milady Rodriguez, is Dominican, and her father, Rafael Rodriguez, was Puerto Rican and served in the U.S. Army. So there you have it right there. This woman is not even ethnically white, yet she's towing the line and carrying the water for PC in this situation. And it wouldn't be the first time that she has done that either. Trust and believe me when I tell you this. And one would think that the way that she's carrying on about this situation, that she is. So my thing is, who are you pandering to, Michelle? It's a rhetorical question. We already know the answer to it. And I knew somehow, some way, I remember that Michelle Rodriguez had made some comments in which I commented on. So if y'all remember, a few years ago, it had came out that Liam Neeson had made the comments, or so he had some comments had got out where he was doing an interview or something along those lines, where one of his friends in his where he's from had got attacked, and allegedly it was by a black man that did it. And he said that he wanted to go out and avenge his friend, and he would get, quote unquote, or delete the one of the first black men that he saw. And a lot of black people came at him about that. And then, you know, fast forward, he did a I think he did a movie with Viola Davis. I think it was that movie Widows. I never saw it, never had any intention of wanting to see it. And apparently there's an on-screen kiss between Viola Davis and Liam Neeson, which I believe in the movie they're married, if I'm not mistaken. And then Michelle Rodriguez had made some comments about that, where she was saying it's no way that Liam Neeson could possibly be a racist if he's sharing an on-screen kiss with Viola Davis. And people got in her ass about it, me being one of them. And that's why she came out and made this so-called apology, quote unquote. And you want to know what's so crazy? All I had to do was go into Google and type in Michelle Rodriguez racism, and this was the first article that popped up. So are we really surprised that Michelle Rodriguez made the comment, the recent comments that she's made, when she's done and said this? And she defended this and then had to apologize, quote unquote, which a lot of people didn't accept her apology. We know why she had to do it, because people came at her neck, and rightfully so. But I'm not surprised. I used to watch stuff with Michelle Rodriguez in it back. But the thing is, I didn't go see it for her. That's the thing. Whenever there was a movie that came out that had her in it, I did not rush to the theater to say, oh snap, I'm going to go see this new Michelle Rodriguez movie. I didn't go see it for her. I saw it for the people around her. Same thing with the Fast movies. When I used to watch the Fast movies, I wasn't watching the Fast movies for Michelle Rodriguez. Back then it was for Paul Walker and Vin Diesel. And then later on, you know, Tyrese came into the mix, and you know, that's what it is. But I never went to go see those movies because she was in it. Did she have some kick-ass badass scenes? Of course, because that's her character. But to say that I went to go see those movies because of her, that would be absurd. I wasn't paying for a ticket to go see Michelle Rodriguez. For what? I mean, outside of these type of movies, what else has she done? Let's be real here. And I think she's only doing this because she's trying to gain, I don't know if she's trying to gain another audience or she's trying to get a leading role in something. Usually when people make these kind of comments, it's pandering at best, but it's at our expense. And when you look throughout history, we can show you some roles that were taken from black people, or roles that were cast with PC that was supposed to have black people there, historically speaking. And when I say historically speaking, I'm talking about when they're based off of real people, not off of fictional characters. And that's the thing PC doesn't seem to get through their heads. But then they'll come out and say, well, how about we cast this random white actor to play T'Challa? And they always love going to that. And you want to know why that doesn't work either? Because even though T'Challa, Black Panther in the world of Wakanda is a fictional place and person and hero, is because of the cultural backgrounds. It actually takes place based in an actual continent known as Africa. That's where, quote unquote, Wakanda is located, where their culture is very, very melanated, as in black. Just like if they're trying to do this live action remake of Moana. Even though the character is fictional, it has a cultural backing of Pacific Islanders. So I wouldn't expect them to cast, say, an Asian to play that role. If they were outraged about that, for them doing that, say for that part, I would probably be outraged. Well, I wouldn't really care. So let me rephrase that. If they were to cast a black girl to play Moana, then I would be right. I would be outraged too, because it's like, that's not, you know, culturally, that's not black people's culture. Let them just have that. Now, I probably wouldn't go all the way in like some of these certain channels would, you know, the usual suspects that went on a tirade about Halle Bailey being cast as Ariel in The Little Mermaid for years. I would just make my little piece about it and keep it moving, because it's not that deep to me. But yeah, Michelle, sit down somewhere. Like, continue to collect your little fast checks, because honestly, that's all you really have going for you at this point. And when these fast movies are over, and hopefully they end real soon, because I'm getting tired of hearing about them, because like I said, I've already fell off of them. What is Michelle Rodriguez going to do next? Because honestly, the cast around her can probably get more work than she does. Like I said, granted, she may pop up in other things, but look at the type of roles that they are. They're the same kind of roles. She's literally been pigeonholed into a certain archetype. And if my memory serves me correctly, a lot of people didn't really like the role that she had when she was in that movie Dungeons and Dragons, because she again played this very masculine figure that was literally saving the main character, who was an actor, Chris Pine, like based on the trailers of what she was doing in there, and people was upset about that. I'm amazed that she didn't clap back at them. I had to pause on Michelle Rodriguez right quick and mention 3 points, and you'll see exactly what I mean when I'm going here. So in case y'all don't know who this is, well, you probably recognize him from the picture, but this actor, his name is Tanak Hirwarta, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, and he played Namor in the recent Black Panther Wakanda Forever movie. Now in the comics, Namor has not had a heritage that was of, I guess you could say, Mexican origin, lineage. However, they displayed it into the movie, but they called it Talokan. It wasn't even called Talokan, it was called Atlantis, but I believe they made that change in name because of Aquaman being Atlantis, you know, with the Atlanteans, and they didn't want to have it be, you know, Namor with the Atlantis and Atlantis, even though Namor actually predates Aquaman, but I believe only by a year. So it is what it is. I have no control over it. But you see, they completely switched his origin around and casted I believe he's Mexican, a Mexican actor in a role for a character that is not historically Mexican, or at least is not drawn that way. Some people was a little fickle about it, but not to the point where they lost their minds about it either. Next, I wanted to talk about this actress. Now, this woman's name is Sasha Calle. She is currently playing Supergirl, or Kara-El, in the Flash film, and she's not historically casted or looked at how the original Supergirl is. Now, we all know Supergirl is a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman, but as you can see in this movie, she has brown eyes and dark hair. And I looked up her ethnicity. Sasha Calle is of Colombian descent on her mother's side. I'm not sure what about on her father's side, because it says she was born in Massachusetts, so it sounds to me like she's first generation born. But on her mother's side, she's of Colombian descent. Supergirl is not of Colombian descent, but I didn't see too many people get outraged about it. It was some, you know, rumblings here and there, but it wasn't a lot of people that was getting upset about it. But I find interesting that, like with Tanak and now with Sasha, I didn't hear Michelle Rodriguez make any noise about either two of these, but she may have made some noise about this next person I'm going to talk about, and that person would be none other than Leslie Grace. Now, in case y'all don't know who Leslie Grace is, she's also an actress, and she was playing Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl, in what would have been a Batgirl film. It was a lot of controversy around it, mainly because of her casting. They were upset because historically, comic wise, Barbara Gordon was a white redheaded woman. And they was like, how dare you race swap her and cast this woman? Now, the thing is, with Tanakh being Mexican and you have Sasha, who was of Colombian descent, Leslie Grace is Dominican. Now, she doesn't look like the quote-unquote traditional mainstream Dominican. She has some color to her. As you can see by this picture, she has a darker hue. And not only that, look at them lips. Them things are really full. Look at that nose. It's not narrow. She would be thrown into the category of someone who would be quote-unquote Afro-Dominican or Afro-Latina, and they harped on that. Some of you may or may not remember that, but they made sure they was very, very up in arms about that. I actually talked about this on my channel a while ago, and the movie ended up getting shelved, like never to see the light of day, because it was going to be on what used to be HBO Max. Like, they had already filmed the movie. The movie was pretty much done filming, to my knowledge, and I think they were in post-production. And they said the movie was a bust, it was horrible, but we'll never know. That's what they say. But I believe it was a money thing, that they used this movie to try to get them out of some financial issues that they're probably still in right now. Like, it really didn't help that much. It probably put a little dent in there, but the movie will never get seen. But I find it interesting because, you know, they really were mad about her casting, but they weren't really upset about Sasha Calle's casting. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, is anyone going to say anything about this? I wasn't going to say anything because I have no skin in the game. I have no dog in this fight, but I'm just curious if they was going to keep the same energy for her as they had for her. And when you look at their images, you can clearly see the difference there. Even though Sasha Calle is not ethnically white, she will do, opposed to a Leslie Grace, who could not pass at all. But I find it interesting, Michelle didn't have anything to say about the 3 instances that I'm talking about right here, but she wants to open up her mouth and talk about black people still in white people's roles, when all 3 characters that I mentioned, even including Namor, would be considered white. Well, 2 of them we know will be considered white, and that's Barbara Gordon and Supergirl. Namor, I don't know. I always thought Namor to me looked more Asian. I don't know, it's because of how his eyebrows were or how his eyes were cut, but he always struck me looking more kind of Asian. Y'all can let me know what you think down in the comments. If you see a picture of actual Namor, like the comic book version, you can definitely clearly see the difference. The only thing they really kept the same between the 2 is the outfit and the ears, because, you know, Namor had pointy ears like an elf, and they kept the ears the same as well in this movie. But everything else, like the lineage, the origin, all of that was changed for the MCU. And to all like black directors out there, let me just put a call out to you right now. You may or may not see this. Most likely you won't see it. Keep in mind what Gina Rodriguez said before you decide to want to cast her in your next film. I'm just saying, if she has all that smoke and saying that black actors need to quote unquote stop stealing white actors' roles, even though it ain't happening like she thinks it is, then you don't need to cast her in any upcoming project. There are plenty of other women out there who fall within her demographic that I'm sure that you can cast. Give it to an up and coming actress and make her into a star, the star that Michelle Rodriguez wishes she was. And before you know it, she's gonna be like, oh, no one's trying to work with me anymore, they're not giving me any part. Exactly. And what I find to be even more interesting, and I should have said this sooner, is she's getting mad at quote unquote, you know, black actors for stealing roles, but she's not going after the studio heads or the execs or the casting directors and the directors for casting these actors in this role, because they're the ones that picked them at the end of the day. But she has to go to the low-hanging fruit, which is the actor themselves. What we also need to do is keep an eye on the type of roles that Michelle Rodriguez takes, or the type of roles she has taken. Were those roles meant for, say, black actresses, and she took them and they just cast her and she just went ahead and took the role? Because I swear, I'm telling you right now, when people say like stuff like this, you got to be on it, because the minute that they slip up, that's when we gonna be on their heads. You can never allow them to have one day of rest if they slip up. So keep that in mind going forward with any movie, that Michelle Rodriguez does going forward, and see if they were looking for a black actress, but she ended up getting the part when she could have said no or turned it down, because that's basically what she's trying to tell black people or black actors. Y'all could have turned it down. Stop stealing white people's stuff. Well, how about this, Michelle? Cut the check and we can talk about all the little trinkets later.